Good morning. Whew, I'm gonna ground. I feel like I just gave my talk to the Uber driver, so I'm gonna tune in and feel what wants to come through now. So my name is Araminta. I'm half British and half American, but I spent most of the last 11 years in Guatemala, and have the good fortune of being a nomadic traveler, getting to share a body of work that we call the spiritual, sexual, shamanic teachings, explorations. But I presume, like most of you, I've been in the question all my life about what is meaningful? What is a good use of this precious life? And the outer world seems to be filled with ideas about, or suggestions about what is a meaningful life. And our parents have different ideas about what they want to see us do, and each culture frames different notions of success. I think in some ways I was quite fortunate because a death quite early on in my life brought me to the questions that we all have to face around the impermanence of life and the fragility of life and how deeply vulnerable we are as humans. And it seems to me that the history of humanity has actually been a deep study of power and purpose and creativity and how the heck we actually make things happen on this planet. So I kind of immersed myself in philosophy and esoteric studies originally. Went deep in sort of academia was my safe place. I was quite a good head for a while. I felt safe pondering the questions through books and getting lost in beautiful, beautiful ideas. And the cycles of time and the study of, what are the cycles that seem to move us, that we're affected by, and that perhaps we can align ourselves to become even more potent and make stuff happen here on this planet. But I think, like any crisis, we all get plunged into the suffering and the fragility of being in a human form, and we feel deeply. And most of us have had next to no education around our feeling body and what to do with these emotions. And for me, at least, most of the study that I was involved in with the religious traditions and the spiritual traditions, there was quite a separation going on between the sort of judgmentalness about the weakness of being in a transient physical form with these pesky emotions and our lofty ideals of creating permanent, long-lasting, influential change. So, long story short, I'm incredibly grateful that I have been on a path, particularly the last sort of 7 years, of really looking at this split between often ascension pathways of oneness, spirituality, divineness that tends to separate us from our lower chakras or the emotional body, physical body, God forbid, sexuality, and really attempts to anchor us in higher mind and higher states of consciousness. And really looking at how deep this split goes between spirituality and matter and materiality, and what does it look like to actually become fully integrated and move beyond this apparent duality and apparent division that's so often understood as a conflict. So I want to ask you guys to close your eyes for a moment and feel into this question, whatever it means for you, but to take yourself back in time and contemplate your first ever sexual experience. And just allow whatever emotions or thoughts or images come up for you in that question. I just want to invite you to take a deep breath and make a little bit of sound on your exhale. And just slowly come back into the room. So my guess is a huge variety of experiences were just brought up in the room. But in the spiritual, sexual, shamanic body of teachings, we understand our first sexual experience as the moment of our conception. That actually, if it wasn't for our parents making love and whatever their particular unique vibration, that somehow was some sort of match to even bring us into this wild matrix of Earth School, we wouldn't be here. There's something so mysterious and yet so fundamental to the entire experience that we're all a part of that's linked somehow to the sexual mysteries. And it seems so obvious, and yet at the same time, it's been left out in a way, or somehow pushed into the shadows of most religious traditions the last few thousand years. It's left out of the office, for sure, and business and discussions around organizations. It's unacceptable in politics, although it's there in the shadow. It's not studied scientifically for the most part. And yet the more I contemplated it, the more fundamental and inherent to manifestation on every level, on everything that's going on. So I want to invite us to unpack some of this today, because I really believe that our relationship to our sexual life force energy holds incredible keys of mastery to, my guess, everything that you want to see happen on this planet. And yet, for the most part, each of us have our own journey to take, because the culture has pushed this topic into the taboo area. And there's just layers and layers of fear and shame and just guilt about feeling sexual energy, our sexual desires. We all find relationships pretty challenging. They tend to be something that we idealize and fantasize about. And yet we spend so little time actually educating ourselves or having safe spaces to talk about the numerous experiences and conundrums that we face around this topic. So attempting to remove sexuality from the very narrow box that it's been put in and which it's understood in, which usually kind of gets defined like we're still in high school and it's like bases, and if it's not genital to genital penetration, then it's not really sex. And actually just start to invite us to understand sexuality from a much broader frame that actually is linked to manifestation and creation on all levels. So for example, what if your sexual life force energy was not just a part of you to support reproduction of the human race, which is still a very powerful, fundamental, deeply amazing, mysterious part of life, but what if it was actually a part of your inner GPS system designed to support you to navigate this entire journey and give you vital information to support you every moment of your life. And that actually your ability to listen and tune into this message system was going to be fundamental in you living the fullness of your energy, the fullness of your unique expression, and give you the power to make your visions, your sacred purpose on this planet actually happen. So I invite you just to breathe into that possibility. So there's this journey of turning our attention from all the messages of the outside world, busy giving us information and direction and definitions of what we should be doing with our life force, and a turning inward that many of the speakers this weekend have brought attention to, sort of inner work, self-development work, of dropping deep inside and untangling all the beliefs that we've been given and thought forms from the outside world to really come into our inner truth. It's almost like this idea that whatever that moment of conception was is somehow connected to your unique expression, your unique energy signature that you carry, like your core vibration. And if you can actually learn to tune out the external noise and prioritize your connection to listening to your core vibration, that it's going to be your guiding siren's call. The challenge is how to tune out the outside noise and how to deeply connect to that inner core, especially given that the culture has so deeply shamed sexuality in particular. So a lot of my work involves supporting and creating safe spaces so that we can drop inside and reclaim the erotic innocence of this signature. Not just so that we can have even more pleasure in our bodies and more meaningful, loving relationships, but actually so that we can be powerful creators on this planet. So that we can tune into this signal in ways that help us really get clear on who is vibrating at similar frequencies to us, not just so that we could maybe spend the rest of our lives together and get married and have kids. Yes, possibly. But actually that message is giving you signals about who to move towards for the mystery. We don't necessarily know why we're being called to spend time together. But there's a knowing that if we trust this energetic, if we trust our magnetic sense of who life is being pulled or who we're being attracted to, and we're open to the mystery, maybe this person that you're so attracted to for a moment across the dance floor actually has the next movie recommendation for you that's going to provide a nugget of creative ideas that's going to end up sending your whole life in a different direction. But because we're not informed of exploring our attractions in this deeper way, we often attempt to box our understanding as, oh, maybe we should be together sexually or romantically. Yeah. So we're often missing a huge nugget of information. It's like life is using this energy to orchestrate so much beauty, but we've all got the blinkers on, trying to fit the messages into very minute boxes. So it's fun. It's exciting to start to reframe this, because it brings out the deep adventure in life. Another thing I wanted to talk about today is our emotional body. In a way, this idea of becoming fully integrated and really balancing this upper chakras or ascension, or this idea that spirituality is somehow up and out. With all of these embodied practices that we now see really resurging on the planet, what I witness is that there's been a real return to listening to the body, health, a return to the land. Where I live, and I see this all over the planet, there's a real return to earth medicine, permaculture, plant medicines. This idea of wanting to reconnect to the life web, and a knowing that actually at this crucial moment in our evolution, if we don't reconnect deeply with all of the different energetic signatures and information systems that are available to us, we possibly won't be able to continue our evolutionary path. But in order to come in and access all these emotions, we often have to do some clearing work, vibrational work, because for so long, most of us have been attempting to avoid listening to the signal. And a big part of that is working with the emotional body. And what I experience personally, and I imagine many of you have too, is like the culture has kind of said that there's good emotions and then there's some bad emotions. And so we sort of attempt to become these people who only feel happy, loving, joyful, compassionate, humorous, fun-loving. Yeah. And we kind of pump ourselves to attempt to only express a certain range of emotions. And meanwhile, when we try to avoid feeling sad, feeling angry, deep grief, deep rage. Who consciously tries to experience any of those often negative emotions? Oh, cool. You're my people. Okay, so I'm talking to friends who understand, what if to be human came with the gift of having an emotional body that gets to vibrate in a full spectrum, color range of emotions. And instead of that being a part of some kind of weakness that we have to overcome, that it was actually one of our biggest gifts. So on the mental, we often need to reframe our relationship to our emotional body and start to learn how to embrace the fullness of what we can experience and feel. And then there's a mastery in not only stopping all the suppression or the projection, but actually learn how to masterfully be in a body while we feel and allow these emotions to vibrate in a way that inform us so that we get the wisdom of the different messages coming through the emotional body and expand us. That actually all of these emotional signatures create and increase our capacity to stay present with more and more emotional intensity. So sort of like an emotional yoga practice. Many of us do some sort of physical practice to support a healthy, vibrant physical body. But I feel like right now, with a lot of the somatic and embodiment, more feminine practices, we're starting to really embrace more emotional yoga practices. It's like this idea that actually you want to be able to have access to the vibration of grief and rage right here, close to you as allies, as much as you want access to deep bliss and deep joy. And my experience is that our ability to even experience deep, deep bliss and ecstasy is actually directly proportionate to our ability to stretch and vibrate and feel deep rage, deep grief, for example. Because even if your life right now is picture perfect and you've never been happier and you've never been more content, turn on the news. Every moment on this planet, there's full spectrum experiences happening. There's incredible new discoveries and amazing art being created and awe-inspiring beauty to open ourselves up to and feel. And at the same time, there's just incredible injustices, incredible suffering and things that we can allow in and break our hearts open. So to be human is to feel. And really to be an adult human is to have the mastery of being able to feel it all and to allow that emotional energy to inform us, as opposed to what I used to do and still do at times, just block and armor up the heart, just look after me and mine, just put my attention on things that I can handle, and ultimately shut myself down from actually being deeply connected to the vastness that's happening on this planet. So for many of us, there's some emotional freedom and vibration work to do, which at first can seem a little intense and scary because it directly conflicts with a bunch of programs, usually, that we have about who we are and what a good person experiences, let alone expresses. So if you guys are willing, I want to just share a couple of emotional yoga skills that we can do on a daily basis just to make sure that we're vibrating and we're not suppressing our emotional body. They're also great if and when life gets choppy and you've got big feelings going on. And instead of avoiding it, distracting yourself with Facebook or drugs and alcohol or food, or you can actually use some sort of emotional yoga skill to actually support you to get closer, so you can get the wisdom about what these emotions are trying to tell you. So we often use 3 words as kind of the magic words, breath, sound, and movement. And that some combination of these 3 is going to support you to get present with what's happening inside you and actually use it as a vibrational tool that expands you rather than contracts you. So I'm going to invite you guys to your feet. The first one is really just some shaking. Let's see if I can, I guess I still need the mic. So just allow yourself to, get rid of the monkey mind that may think it's a bit silly. Put that on hold if you can for a bit. And allow yourself just to shake. You can start with your pelvis, maybe side to side or front and back if you're feeling even a bit more adventurous. And invite some deeper breath into your body. We've all been told to be a lot smaller than we are with our energy fields. So see if you can give yourself permission to take up some space with your sound just through your exhale right now. So how loud can your exhale be? Because it's intense being a human on this planet. There's a lot going on, and we want to feel it all, but we need to be able to run the feelings through us, yeah? So I'm going to show something called the power stomp. Most tribes have some version of this. They may use it to move energy, they may use it before battle to help them come fully into this body. This idea that actually if we're not fully in our body, we're not going to have much effect on the planet. There's a lot of good stuff about meditating, but eventually, right action in the body. So we're stomping our feet, we're breathing. I'm going to raise my hands and demo without the mic, but something like this. So just take a breath and just notice what's happening. And keep breathing, nice and juicy breaths. Yawning is a common sign. It means energy's moving and releasing. Now, of course, our heart's going because we've just done some physical movement. But energetically, something else is happening because we're starting to challenge a little bit the status quo about what adults do. And also we're giving some permission for some stuff to move. I'm going to show another one. I call this Why God. It's great for existential crises. We're going to breathe in and out of the heart, and we're going to see what sound the heart wants to make. What have we been carrying in the heart? It's a little bit like camel pose in yoga, something like this. Find your own sound. Deep breath in. Yeah. This need we have to really feel what's going on inside, vibrate and express it. It's like this body is your divine temple that holds your unique vibration. And if you can find a way to move it, give it sound, use your breath, be inspired, and express. You're the only one that knows what's going on in your inner world, that can put your attention inside, feel what's happening, tune in to the unique configuration of you in this moment. And if you can find a way to move, use your breath and sound, and authentically express that particular unique flavor in you right now, authentically, and if there's a match, it'll feel amazing, even if you're in deep rage. There's nothing more powerful than authentic human expression. There's mastery in ways to express things like rage, and many of us have witnessed ourselves or loved ones do it not so masterfully. And so we're afraid of some of these really powerful emotional energies. But as one of my mentors, Bruce Lyon, has said to me, it's time for us to be outrageous. We need access to all of our energies. Rage, anger, frustration are often very important cues telling us that our boundaries probably are being violated in some way. I have this story in my head about a woman, a mother and a baby, the car crash, and somehow she manages to fucking pick up the car and rescue this baby. I'm sure you guys have heard of some of these kind of weird superhuman experiences. What the fuck is going on there? It's not like in 5 seconds her physical muscle mass has changed. But my guess is, I don't know, my guess is her emotional body has just changed, for sure. She's got access to huge amounts of emotional energy in that moment. It's like, no, this is not fucking happening. So that incredible Hulk feeling when you're angry, most of us are scared as shit about what to do with that much power in our body. So we try to give it away. We don't know what to do, or we push it down and we give it to our body and we get sick later. So regularly practicing, learning how to feel all different colors and flavors of the emotional body and vibrate it actually gives you incredible mastery. So I'm going to show one more with you. Hand scream. This is pretty cool because you can pretty much go to a bathroom and do this anywhere. So it's a good takeaway one. I'm going to ask you guys to breathe down into your belly. This is the seat of the emotional body, and it's often where we've got stuff blocked. I'm going to shake a little bit down here. Another little sign to just invite anything that may be stuck there. And I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to put my hands over my mouth just to give a little bit of resistance, and I'm going to do a scream. This is not really a scream like horror movie scream. It's more of like a deep roar. So go for the deepest sound you can. Something like this. And allow yourself to touch some of the frustration of some of the challenges that we face on this planet. If you're coughing, a little bit less intense and a little bit deeper. Just keep trying it one more time. Not only how can we make peace with feeling frustrated, anger, and rage, how can you befriend it? How can you hold enough space so that your fullness of your emotional body can move through you and express? Yeah. will give you the rage of the heart, courage, courage to live your authentic truth, and it's often giving you the energy that you need in that moment to stand up, to speak your truth. So I've only got another minute, so I'm gonna ask you guys to sit. So to close, energy mastery, your ability to hold space and embrace the energy signatures coming through your emotional body, and then even more powerfully in my experience, really understanding the gift of your erotic innocence and learning how to clear the shame and guilt that we've been taught from society and the religions, that it's somehow dirty and not spiritual, and actually recognize that if you really want to be a creative, powerful being on this planet, they're master keys, and your relationship to it is going to superpower your ability to manifest the dreams and the visions that you hold. And it's a really beautiful journey, so I invite you guys, if you're not already exploring that way, to dive on in. Thank you so much.